On Friday, the NBA and Players Association finalized a plan for the restart down in Orlando starting July 30th. I'm Sierra Goodwill here with Mike Petraglia and Jimmy Toscano. Seems like good news, but earlier in the day, also some not so good news. The teams tested all their players that were planning to head down to Orlando. 16 tested positive for coronavirus. Players choosing to opt out who are at high risk or have family members who are. Are you concerned at all that this is actually going to happen?
Not at all. I think the NBA is going to go forward with their season. I think the agreement between the NBPA and the NBA itself is a great sign that both sides know that this season needs to take place, and they're going to move forward and give their fans what they've been wanting. These cases of positive testing should not surprise anyone. Obviously, as testing has become much more prevalent, you're going to see higher numbers of cases testing positive for COVID. That's not a surprise. And in every single league, the message has been, we are expecting positive tests. We have a plan in place, a contingency plan in place for short-term and long-term COVID care for the players and staff and coaches and whatnot. This is not unexpected, and this shouldn't rattle anybody's cages. Look, obviously it's a concern. COVID is still an ongoing fluid situation, but in terms of the panic that is going to stop these leagues from going forward with their plans, I don't see it.
Yeah, I think I'm a little bit more concerned than Trags is, since it sounds like he's just gung-ho on this all going smoothly, but I don't think anyone really knows for sure how this is going to play out. And I know that there's X amount of days until camp and then the first game and all that, and I think that they will ultimately go forward with it. But it's the NBA, and the NBA is built on drama and all this stuff. So that's not going to change. Like, there's going to be more athletes or star players that are, whether or not they're affected or somebody in their family is, they have to step away. So I'm going to be really interested to see how these teams look like in terms of rosters being built. But I'm a little concerned because the numbers are going up as we speak, in some of these states.
Jimmy, right?
I know it is to be expected, but at some point, like as the commissioner of the NBA, you can't ignore what's going on around you. It can't just be like that meme of the dog sitting there saying this is fine and everything's on fire. Like, if it gets worse, if it gets worse and continues to get worse again, I just don't know how the logistics would play out in getting everybody to Florida and quarantining and all that stuff.
Here's my point. My point is, in all of these leagues, NBA included, you're either all in or you're all out. You can't be sitting on the fence. You can't be saying, well, we're going to dip our feet in the water, dip our toe and the big toe in the water, dip our second and third toes in the water, then we'll get our ankle in the water. That's not how this is going to work. In my estimation, you're either going to go ahead and say, look, we have the contingency plans in place. If the numbers increase, we're going to quarantine a certain amount of players. But at some point, these leagues, including the NBA, have to either be all in or say, this isn't going to work and we're going to look toward next season.
Well, one aspect of this that's interesting is the fact that they are going down to Florida. And I do think that the NBA is going to push forward and start this restart. They're, all scheduled to be down there in 2 weeks. But on Friday, Florida shattered a single-day record in coronavirus cases with 9,000 new cases in one day on Friday. All it's going to take is one player or a couple players saying, oh, I'm just going to go out this one time, because there's really no enforcement of them staying. Obviously, they're all staying in the bubble, but these are all still grown men who can essentially do what they want. And all it takes is one rebel to leave that bubble and say, I'm just going to do this one thing real quick and come back, and we could have a catastrophe on our hands. I know I've been hearing a lot of people, it's almost impossible to think that every single player on all these teams are just going to sit and obey the rules.
Well, right. And that's a great point. These guys are grown men, and you either expect them to follow some certain guidelines, you expect them, like I have 2 kids, right? And you expect them to exercise some common sense, some good judgment. If you think that you're going to be able to control all 300 players rigorously, that's unrealistic. Just not going to happen.
Yeah, it's not going to happen. I mean, it's going to be interesting to see which players, I guess, take this rest of the season more seriously than others, and that might depend on where they are in the seedings or where they are in their whatever playoff matchups and things like that, or whether or not they're on some sort of game, rest and game, and maybe they know they're not going to play for the next couple of days, so they want to go for a walk. And like you said, Sierra, I mean, the numbers are taking off in Florida, so where can they go? They're going to have family members with them, some of them, so could those potentially be reasons that they could spread something? So there's just so many questions, and I wonder if I hope it doesn't, but I wonder if it's going to create drama within teams. Like player A sees player B going out while knowing that player A is really serious about the virus and has an old grandmother who's really susceptible, and how does that affect their ability to play together? And so there's just a lot of things at play here aside from just going out and play a basketball game. And now we haven't even talked about the quality of play. These guys haven't played in a while. They haven't played together. They're going to be cramming games in. I want to see, I've said this for the last 3-4 months. I want basketball to be played as much as the next guy, but I don't want to sacrifice health. I don't want to sacrifice quality. I don't want to see players getting hurt because they're not in shape. And it just feels like the NBA is just dead set on just getting these games in and crowning a champion of sorts.
All TV, Jimmy. It is all TV revenue. Yep. All three of us
and
know
we'll watch. Of course we'll watch.
It is revenue, period.
We'll see if it starts on time, if it finishes on time. We'll keep you covered on all the NBA news on our website at clnsmedia.com and on our YouTube channel at Celtics All Access.